Nick, to start us off, can you give us a little bit of your background and how you came to be in hotel technology or hospitality technology?
Sure, I certainly can. Great to be here, by the way, Brendon. Thanks very much for inviting me. Love the bow tie. So, why am I in hospitality technology? Well, I'm a technologist. I might describe myself as a reasonably deep technologist. Started out life in the operating system world and the Unix world, and I completely by accident ended up in hospitality, but I took a detour for 5 years through digital retail.
Okay.
And so I ended up in hospitality, having done Cortech, digital retail, as retail was taking off digitally and expanding and selling online. And then I ended up in hotels, and boy, what did I find? I found a whole load of very, very interesting problems that needed a core technologist, somebody to really, really look at them hard and think, well, how can we apply modern technology to it, but not just technology to it, but technology that's coming. And that's always been my view, is try and understand the next 5 or 6 years as much as you can in core tech, because it'll eventually make its way into product. And if you can get there before everybody else, you've scored a win. And yeah, so Mandarin Oriental, then Citizen M, and now I'm doing my own thing. And with identity that we're here to talk about today, software identity, it's something I've always been interested in, and probably just as a sort of prelude and a segue into the next segment, I would simply say the internet was born without an identity layer.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good point. So in preparation for today, I was reading, Jamie Smith's blogs that you suggested, and I love the way he takes us from, paper-based identity, the passport probably being the one. And, we had control of that. We would show it to someone, then we would take it back. We guarded it with our life. And then we moved to the digital world where people are asking for information from us all the time. And we quite happily hand that over. But that information we no longer control, basically. Those companies don't necessarily share it. We hope that they safeguard it well. There are occasions where they don't. And sometimes they even actually sell that information if it's worth money. And I think what we're going to be talking about today is moving back to a world where us as an individual actually control our own identity, and we give it to hotels or companies as and when required for the amount of time that they require it. Is that right?
Yes, that is. That's absolutely right. And in many senses, I like the word going back, because this is a digital representation of the physical world as it is. The last 20 years, where we've logged in with Google and we've used Google to say, yes, this is Nick, and you can get into the shoe shop over here and buy a pair of shoes, and I'm going to track what size you have. That's just a 20-year aberration, right? That actually should never have happened if the internet had an identity layer. And so what we are doing is we are creating an identity layer for the internet, the missing identity layer for the internet, which digitally represents the physical experience that we have today, where we carry things around with us, and we hand over physical documents as you want, and we don't hand over too many, hopefully. It's a digital world, it's a digital representation, it's a better representation, obviously, than the physical world that we're leaving in many senses. But I would say one thing: identity is not just about individuals. It's not just about consumers or citizens or residents or whatever. It's also about businesses, and it's also about things. And the great thing about this model is that the same technology applies to an identity for a company as it does to an identity for an individual, or even an identity for a thing, like a building, for example.
Even I read today, you could have a smart camera having an identity, and it requests permission to access particular information. So that does make sense that we use a standard, in a sense, protocol for all identity sharing.
Certainly, and in fact, IoT is a huge area of need to have a provable identity, because you install IoT devices and they're there for 10 years. Most people forget they're even there, right? And you need to know that communication is between the IoT device and yourself. And you need to know that it's cryptographically provable that this is the IoT device that you're talking to, and that the transmission of those capabilities and attributes come out of the box, really, with the decentralized digital ID model and the technologies that we're talking about that are under development in Cortech and through the Decentralized Identity Foundation and many others that sort of form this large ecosphere of open source but coordinated open source development under W3C diff, and they all roll up under the Linux Foundation.
So that's a great point, Nick.